Wow, a major blockbuster deal in the NBA. James Harden going to the Brooklyn Nets. Those words last night after another pathetic, grotesque no-show. You knew that Harden didn't want to be in Houston anymore, and the Rockets granted his wish. I mean, look at the numbers. Look at the rankings. Look at his physique. He ate his way out of Houston. He torpedoed the season. He, over the last 5 games, was averaging 17 points a game. This is James Harden, one of the best and most electrifying ball players on offense in the history of the NBA. He absolutely destroyed everything with the Houston Rockets. He wanted out. And James Harden, he got his wish. He's going to Brooklyn in a blockbuster deal. And listen, the Nets gave up a ton here. The Brooklyn Nets gave up 2 of arguably their best players. I'd make the case that Karis LeVert and Jared Allen, second and third best player for Brooklyn this season behind Kevin Durant. Now, James Harden is obviously a sensational ball player when right, when focused, and you put him with Kevin Durant, you have to acknowledge there's a realistic chance the Brooklyn Nets are going to the NBA Finals, as we predicted at the beginning of the season. The Kevin Durant last night against the Denver Nuggets was vintage KD, down 18, led a comeback, dropping bucket after bucket after bucket, and this projected lineup can be amazing. Now, you also factor in Jeff Green, you factor in Bruce Brown. You know, DeAndre Jordan's had a miserable season. He's basically had the mobility of a potted plant. And that's why not having Allen is certainly a big deal. Karis LeVert was an excellent ball player. And who the hell knows when it comes to Kyrie Irving. And that's my concern. Let's be honest here. Kyrie Irving has quit. Quits on Kevin Durant. Quit on Steve Nash. Quits on the Brooklyn Nets. Hasn't shown up. Seen maskless at his sister's birthday party, doing a virtual political endorsement at the same time of the Nets game last night. Listen, assuming Kyrie is now happy that he has James Harden and Kevin Durant, we're talking about 3 30-point scorers. 3 of the best offensive ball players in the NBA. And you know, at the beginning of the season, before the season even started, I guaranteed that James Harden was going to get traded to Brooklyn because the Nets were going for it, and I respected that, and Harden's amazing. The act that Harden was going with in Houston, where he wasn't in shape, torpedoed the season, that made me sick. Kyrie Irving not giving a damn and not showing up for work, and Steve Nash not knowing where he was, that made me sick. This mix can absolutely dominate and score. I don't think they can play a lick of defense. I don't think they're going to rebound the basketball. The chemistry is going to be insane and wild, and Harden is not in shape in any way, shape, or form, and who knows what's going through Kyrie's mind. Listen, the Brooklyn Nets, their upside is absolutely to go to the NBA Finals, and they are going to be a juggernaut on offense, but chemistry-wise, this can be a failure. I mean, Kevin Durant is obviously someone who's a terrific ball player, but, you know, he's a handful to deal with as well. He's the adult in the room. It's crazy. Harden gets his wish. He ate his way out of Houston. He pouted his way, cried his way out of Houston. Kyrie hasn't shown up in over a week. Hello, Brooklyn. I love that from Aaron Rodgers. And the Packers march to the Super Bowl in Tampa on CBS. Starts on Saturday afternoon. That's the mentality. That's the realistic goal. That's the talking point. And I think it's important to talk about things like that. Winning playoff games at Lambeau, winning the NFC at Lambeau, something Rodgers hasn't done in his career as a starting quarterback, and getting to the Super Bowl. And look, I've argued it before, talked to Aaron about it on the Adam Schein podcast a few weeks ago. This was the best season of Aaron Rodgers' legendary, iconic career. And Rodgers heaped a ton of praise when we spoke on Devontae Adams, who has just been sensational. His route running is precise. And look, it's as tough a matchup as you can have going up against Jalen Ramsey. And that defense is unbelievable when you look at it for the LA Rams. But Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, they have made sweet music together all season long. With all due respect to Jalen Ramsey, who I voted for first-team All-Pro, it's always advantage Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. And listen, if you love watching the greatest of all time in motion, in action, it doesn't get any better than this with Aaron Rodgers going up against Aaron Donald, because we could be talking about the most talented quarterback ever against the best defensive player in the history of the NFL. Troy Aikman said that on the Fox broadcast over the weekend. You know, we've talked about that. Aaron Donald is clearly not 100%, but as Sean McVay said, the Terminator's going to go. And this defense is absolutely legit. Aaron Donald is going to be a handful for Green Bay. And listen, he has no choice. They don't have a healthy quarterback right now with the LA Rams, so it's going to have to be Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey's time to shine. You know I love that defense. We've said it's number one all year long. Aaron Donald got my vote for Defensive Player of the Year. To me, Aaron Donald and Lawrence Taylor are the two best defensive players I've ever seen play football. But when you're going up against Aaron Rodgers at historic Lambeau Field, that is not a recipe for team success. All right, let's get into the situation in Houston. And Houston has a legit problem, pun intended, with Deshaun Watson. He's angry, and I totally get it. Okay, you were an executive for so long in the National Football League. You know problems exist all the time, big, small, and everywhere in between. How do you, if you're Houston, you have this unbelievable franchise quarterback, how would you go about fixing the problem?
Well, I certainly know what I would suggest they do. And to acknowledge the elephant in the room, so to speak, there were issues that we had with players, that Al had with players, that Al was not able to or willing to try to overcome with those players. I can get to that in a minute. My point is sometimes you can work through these things, but these things are not always worked through well. The first thing that's got to happen is there's got to be direct communication that's not in the media. And look, that's hard to do, but you've got to do it. No leaks, no whispers, no dribbling of information. Pick up the phone and call Deshaun and keep calling until he answers and is able to have a conversation with you. And yes, Nick Caserio should be doing that, but Cal McNair should do absolutely everything he can to continue to try to reach out for Deshaun. Because the fact of the matter is, ultimate authority and ultimate responsibility for everything that goes on at a team rests with ownership. And ownership of that team can delegate the authority and delegate the responsibility, but they can always take it back because ultimate authority and responsibility rests with the team. There is a mess in Houston, and Cal has got to address it. Nick has got to do all he can to address it. The new head coach has got to do what he can to address it, but certainly there is a problem. And again, I do want to acknowledge we had issues with players. There was one notable rift that existed between Al and a tremendous player. And try as I might over years and years and years to convince Al to try to heal that rift, I couldn't do so.
Yeah, listen, this is a tremendous response, Amy, and I think that direct communication, it absolutely needs to happen in Houston. Deshaun Watson is special, and you're right, it starts with the direct conversation and communication at the ownership level. Amy, you've been a big proponent and, frankly, ahead of the curve for years in terms of the coaching carousel and having it wait until after the Super Bowl is played. Elaborate on that, and why would that benefit everybody involved?
Felt strongly about that while I was in the league, shared those strong views at league meetings with league executives and other team owners and executives at times other than the league meetings, but certainly at those meetings often. I share those views now, as you know, from that other pregame show and otherwise. There is no good that comes, in my view, of allowing interviewing while the postseason is going on. It is unfair to the teams that are in the postseason, because anybody with a team in the postseason that is interviewing for a job with another team is by definition going to spend time preparing for that interview. And people may say, but Amy, right now they're virtual interviews. I don't care. You're still going to spend time interviewing for your next job when 100% of your energy should be going into your current job. Your current employer should not be losing your time, effort, and energy because you're working on preparing for an interview with a prospective employer. And Adam, it's also not fair to coaches whose teams are going to go very, very deep into the playoffs, because there is a sense of pressure among many teams to hurry, hurry, hurry and hire. And they may not want to wait for the teams that go all the way to the Super Bowl. So by definition, if you are among the best coaching staff and you're in the Super Bowl, you may be hampered by this rule as well. I could go on and on and on. It really is a sore spot with me, has been for decades. I think the league needs to change this rule pronto.
I think it's an excellent, excellent opinion, Amy, and I do think it's something the league needs to look into for the coaches, for the teams, for everybody involved.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.